Emma's biological daughter was returned to the Smith household, prompting my adoptive parents to label me a fraud and attempt to evict me. My elder brother shot me a frosty glare and dismissed me with a curt, "Go away." Even my first love, my fiancé, watched as the biological daughter splashed me with wine and insisted that I apologize to her. He declared, "I've always loved Emma. You, a fraud who's taken her place, disgust me." However, what they failed to realize was that I possessed a certain luck. Winning a 200 million lottery jackpot was merely the beginning. During a filming trip, I casually parallaxed a lottery ticket and hit the jackpot. Overjoyed, I hurried home to share my excitement, only to discover that I was a mere mistake, swapped by the nanny and not the true princess. Her name was Emma. Emma was exceptionally beautiful, elegantly seated on the sofa, basking in the compliments from all the Smith family members. Even my stern adoptive parents were smiling, enchanted by her presence. "Oh no," they declared. "They're no longer my parents." Trembling, I inquired, "Then where are my real parents?" Rebecca mocked. "You mean those rural folks?" "Emma, please don't say that. Sarah's biological parents might be struggling recyclers, but they've successfully raised 3 children. I'm certain Sarah will thrive when she returns." She glanced to my left, and I noticed 2 middle-aged individuals with graying hair, nervously seated on a small stool, fidgeting with their soiled pants. They couldn't even muster a glance toward me. Alex nudged me, saying, "Sarah, what are you waiting for? Those are your real parents. Go acknowledge them." Still reeling from the revelation, I was shoved to the ground amidst laughter from everyone around. The couple identified as my biological parents hurried over. The woman wiped her hands on her shirt before assisting me to my feet. "Sarah, are you all right?" I remained silent. James signaled for 2 security guards. "Sarah, since you're not the Smith heiress and have found your true parents, please leave the Smith residence immediately." Their piercing gazes felt like needles, scrutinizing me from every angle. A sparrow striving to become a phoenix. A fraud remains a fraud. Better retreat to the countryside and resume picking up trash. I genuinely believed being the Smith princess for 23 years meant I'd always be one. Those I once considered family now stood before me, ridiculing me with icy contempt. I had intended to share the joy of my lottery win with them, only to be expelled. Like a lifeless zombie, I stood bewildered. My biological mother sighed and gently urged, "Sarah, let's go home." Before departing, Emma, with her radiant smile, handed me an invitation. "Sarah, there's a charity banquet this afternoon. You were once part of the Smith family, so join us for the celebration." Despite her kind appearance, Emma's words often held underlying barbs, much like Rebecca's. I watched coldly as she extended the invitation towards me. Alex scoffed nearby, "Emma, you're being overly generous. Sarah's family is impoverished. Attending a banquet, she likely can't even afford a dress." With each remark, my biological parents' heads drooped further. I clenched my fist, grabbed the invitation, and forced a smile. "Thank you, I'll be there." As I turned to leave, laughter echoed behind me. On my way home, my mother kept stammering about our predicament. I had 2 twin sisters in high school, bright and well-behaved, but I remained silent, my head lowered. My father glanced at me, then nudged my mother with his calloused hand. I looked in the direction he indicated. It was a high-end, renowned cafe, bustling with stylish young women and the latest prominent collaborations. My mother scrutinized the price board, hesitated, and finally produced a bag filled with cash, wrinkled ones and 5s. Ignoring the judgmental stares from passers-by, she counted out 338 yuan for my father and another for me. 338 was the cost of their signature most expensive drink. "No need," I attempted to stop him, but it was too late. My father emerged, sweaty, holding a takeout coffee and a dinosaur plushie. "Sarah, young people like you probably adore this. It even comes with the coffee and a dinosaur plushie. Try it and see if you like it." Tears welled in my eyes as I accepted the toy and coffee, nodding, "I like it." About an hour later, I arrived at my new home, an old yet tidy place in the village. My sisters had dinner prepared and stood shyly in the doorway, waiting. After lunch, my father washed the dishes while my mother got ready to take my sisters to school. Suddenly, someone arrived with a delivery. My mother hesitated, reaching for her coin purse, but I intervened. I'll take Ava and Lucy to school. I called a rideshare, dropped my sisters off, and slipped them each 200 yuan. If I'm late tonight, take a ride home and buy something nice for them. Thanks, sis. I left the school and had the driver take me to the lottery office. After claiming the 200 million jackpot, I spent 20 million on a downtown villa and Perlexed a Porsche. Eventually, I drove the Porsche to the mall to select a high-end dress. After getting my makeup done, I headed straight to the charity gala. This event was organized by the Vivian Group, and prominent families like the Smiths and the Johns were all in attendance. Thus, most of the guests were old acquaintances. I wandered around with a glass of orange juice as usual. Emma spotted me, and her smile froze instantly. "Sarah, I thought you wouldn't come," she suddenly called out, weaving through the crowd with a forced grin. She asked, "Sarah, how's the new place? Did your mom and dad collect a lot of junk today?" Her words triggered laughter among the crowd. "Who's that girl talking to Sarah? Never seen her before." "You don't know. The buzz today is that Sarah isn't the real Smith daughter. She's the daughter of some junk collectors. The real Smith princess is Emma, who was switched at birth by the nanny. Junk collectors? That must be filthy disgusting just thinking about it. How is Sarah even here if her family is so broke that the dress she's wearing doesn't look like something a junk collector's daughter could afford?" Emma feigned innocence, continuing, "Sarah, where'd you rent that dress from? Was it expensive? Need me to lend you some money for the dress?" I muttered, fiddling with my fingers nonchalantly. "Not too pricey, just a couple million. Thought I'd have some fun." Emma smirked, clearly skeptical. No surprise, since in her eyes, without the Smith family status, I couldn't possibly afford it. People around started whispering, "Are her real parents junk collectors? How could she afford a dress like that?" I chuckled. "You should ask Emma about the money. She's lived with them for over 20 years after all." Perhaps my words touched a nerve, evoking unpleasant memories for Emma. Her eyes gleamed with malice as she glared at me. Feigning sympathy, she said, "Sarah, if your family can't afford it, just admit it. Don't resort to improper means. Your parents would be heartbroken." She didn't specify what she meant by improper means, but in this crowd, things didn't need to be spelled out to be understood. People's gazes grew even more contemptuous. Only a dirty mind sees everything as dirty. I glanced at Emma's clenched fists and lazily responded, "Oh, right. I almost forgot to tell you all. I won 200 million in the lottery." The crowd erupted in applause. Emma's face could no longer conceal her composure. Her expression fell. "Congratulations, Sarah," she said through gritted teeth. I shrugged, unfazed, and poured myself more orange juice. Just then, Emma's voice rang out, "John, you're finally here." My hand shook, spilling orange juice from the glass. John was my ex-fiancé and my first love. We had always been close. Before I left for college abroad, he gave me a cherry blossom brooch, promising he'd wait for me. 6 months ago, he became the CEO of William Group. I returned after graduating and entered the entertainment industry, fortunately landing my first script. Everyone envied me for having a perfect fiancé. Handsome, wealthy, and deeply affectionate. Until 2 weeks ago, when he suddenly broke up with me and withdrew his funding for my project. When I received the breakup news, I had just finished shooting a scene and broke down crying that night. Thankfully, my director was understanding and didn't hold John's actions against me, allowing me to finish filming. During the breakup, I maintained my pride, refusing to seek him out. Yet, here I was, running into him again. He walked in hand with Emma, doting on her. "Emma, why are you here so early?" Emma glanced at me and giggled. "I didn't want you waiting too long. Couldn't bear it." The boy who had promised to wait for me was now making the same promise to someone else. I closed my eyes, feeling suffocated and wanting to flee. But Emma had no intention of letting me go. She and John approached to toast me. But just as they were about halfway there, Emma tripped. Her wine spilled toward me. "Oh!" a sharp cry echoed. But it wasn't mine. At that moment, a girl in an extravagant dress passed by me and was soaked by the cold wine. That's the favorite daughter of the Green family, and Emma's the Smith princess. This is going to be interesting. Strangely, I saw Emma aiming for me, but accidentally hitting Vivian instead. "What happened?" Everyone around laughed with a hint of schadenfreude. Emma hadn't anticipated throwing it at the wrong person. Just moments ago, she was acting all high and mighty. Now that demeanor vanished instantly. She blushed and hurried over to apologize. I picked up a box of Tisseras and handed it to Vivian. Vivian took the box from me and frowned at Emma. "You're the girl the Smith family brought back from the countryside, right? Just returned, and they didn't teach you any manners." "I get it. But now that you're here, you should learn from Sarah about being a real princess. Don't end up being a wild chicken with no manners." Emma's face alternated between red and white. Her lips trembled, and tears began to form at the corners of her eyes. "Sorry, Vivian. I'll pay for your dress." "Good." Vivian handed the Tissera box back to me with a smile. "Thanks for today. Sarah, I'll take you out for dinner sometime." With that, she strode away. "Sis, I didn't mean to ruin Vivian's dress. You just won the lottery, and you're not short on money. Can't you help me pay Vivian back?" Emma approached with a pitiful expression, pulling at my hand. "Firm no." I quickly stepped back, avoiding her grasp. Emma's hand missed, and her face showed a mix of embarrassment and annoyance. She turned around, pulling John closer, and said loudly, "John, look at her. I'm just borrowing a little money, and she has $2 billion, but she won't lend me any. Isn't she stingy? You think Sarah is angry because you dumped her. It's all my fault. If only I had met you before Sarah." "It's not your fault, Emma." John smiled at her, and then turned to me with a face full of disdain. "Sarah, we're over. I've only ever loved Emma. Your clinginess just disgusts me. The man who once prioritized me now spoke so harshly." My heart sank as I swayed, struggling to stand. A hand steadied me from behind, and a warm, magnetic voice whispered in my ear, "Miss Smith, long time no see." I looked up into a pair of cool, calm eyes. Felix, the head of the Green Group and Vivian's brother. Known for being ruthless and sharp-tongued in the business world, people usually avoided him. I'd seen him on magazine covers, but this was my first time meeting him in person. He glanced at me to ensure I was all right, then turned to John. "John, even a kid knows that helping is kindness. Not helping is neglect. Why the moral pressure? Emma's your girlfriend. If you're worried about her, you should pay instead of letting her beg a stranger." His words were cutting, and the crowd buzzed with excitement. Felix actually defended Sarah. Sarah's family's all scrapped now. How come Felix is helping her? Isn't the Green and William families collaborating lately? Why is Felix making John look bad for a girl from a poor family? Hey, don't you know John's just a figurehead? He doesn't hold real power in the William family. His brother had it all. John's face darkened, glaring daggers at me. Felix raised an eyebrow. John had no choice but to hand Emma a check with clenched teeth. "Emma, take this and repay Miss Vivian." Emma's face paled with humiliation. She squeezed between Felix and me, smiling. "Felix, Sarah and I aren't strangers. Let me introduce you. She's my sister. I just found her birth parents today. Thank you, but no need." Felix politely interrupted her, maintaining distance. Was it not necessary to introduce me to him? I mean, a man like him at the top doesn't need to acknowledge everyone, but it still stung a bit, especially since he just helped me out. Emma looked thrilled to see me, uncomfortable, barely hiding her joy as if to say, "See, I knew someone like you isn't worth knowing." Felix smiled. I know Miss Sarah. We went to college together. I'd heard a lot about her," he said, looking me straight in the eye, his previously cold demeanor softening. "You're impressive." His eyes were elegantly shaped, especially charming when he smiled slightly. My heart skipped a beat. The earlier signs of upset vanished instantly. "Thanks, Emma." Having been rebuffed again, she James-put away in a huff, with John following her. With Felix having assisted me, we naturally engaged in conversation. We talked extensively. He always mirrored my statements and seamlessly directed the conversation forward. It was never awkward. Around 8:30, the party was only halfway through. I gently tapped Felix's shoulder to say goodbye. Felix stood up too. "I'll walk you out." "No thanks, Mr. Felix." I laughed. "I'm just going to pick up my sisters from class." Emma, sitting behind us, scoffed. "Just the two of them? Getting into community college would be a stretch. Always dreaming about Harvard. Oh, right, I forgot. You dropped out of high school and couldn't even make it to community college either." I shot her a glance, indifferent to her gloomy demeanor, and walked away. I waited outside the school for a while. When the bell rang for night classes to end, students began to leave. My two younger sisters saw me, but were too shy to approach. Who wants to sit in the front seat? I opened the car door and waved them over. Big sis, just got a new car. Let's go home. Me. Ava raised her hand and ran over. I leaned in to buckle her seatbelt and then opened the back door for Lucy. On the way back, I noticed both sisters were sneaking glances at me. Curious, I looked over and they quickly averted their eyes. I just chuckled. Sis, Ava said softly, you're really pretty, like a big star. That made me smile broadly. Well, when I become a big star, you'll be the first I autograph for. I want one too, Lucy chimed in from the back. Of course, one for you too, Lucy. Ava tilted her head, blinking before carefully leaning over. Sis, I got a notice from school today. I've been accepted early to Harvard. What? I couldn't believe it and slammed on the brakes. Ava suddenly pulled back, looking scared. Sis, please don't be mad. I didn't mean to brag. She's just a kid, yet she looked so frightened. It broke my heart. It's hard to imagine what she went through in the past. Our parents seemed decent. They wouldn't treat the kids poorly. I gently patted her head. Ava, don't worry. I'm not mad. I'm just surprised. My little sister is amazing. I'm so happy for you. Really not mad? Ava asked hesitantly. But Emma got mad. When I told her I was top of the class, she hit me and told me not to tell Mom and Dad. As Ava spoke, her oversized school uniform sleeve slipped down, revealing bruises all over her arm. A wave of pain hit me. I knew Emma was jealous, but I didn't think she was cruel enough to harm the kids out of spite. Sis, I'm fine. I forced a smile. Being good at school isn't wrong. You don't have to hide it. Let's go buy some cake and celebrate your acceptance. Okay, I want cake too, Lucy added, clutching the seat with wide, cautious eyes. Sis, I got into Oxford. I couldn't stop grinning. My sisters were both exceptional. All right, let's get 2 cakes and celebrate together. When we got home, Mom and Dad were still awake. Seeing the cakes and hearing about the Harvard and Oxford news, they were stunned, then overjoyed. After the cake and washing up, our house didn't have separate bathrooms. Dad heated 3 pots of water for us to bathe. While brushing my teeth, I heard them sighing in their room, discussing how to cover the tuition. They decided to get student loans. Before bed, Mom brought warm milk to my bedside. Looking at the steaming milk, I quietly said, I'll cover Ava and Lucy's tuition. I told her, I already bought a place downtown, ready to move in. It's the weekend James Oro. Let's move. 2 months after moving to the new place, I was invited to a variety show. Emma was invited too. I discovered that John and the Smith family had invested heavily in launching Emma's career with this show. Ironically, they had labeled me a disgrace when I aspired to enter showbiz. Now, for Emma, they were fully invested. At the first show, we had to introduce ourselves and then team up. After my introduction, Emma suddenly said, Sarah, I heard your sisters didn't take the college entrance exams. Her words caused the room to freeze. Several guests gasped. Just as the host tried to intervene, I sat up and smiled politely. Yeah, they didn't take the exams. That's a shame. Emma sighed with feigned pity, but I noticed a glimmer of satisfaction on her face. Community college isn't bad or anything. Nope, I cut her off with a smile. Emma only seemed more pleased, offering, It's okay, even if they can't get into college, I can pull some strings for them. Thanks, but no need, I replied cheerfully. Ava got into Harvard, and Lucy's going to Oxford. Some folks just don't see beyond community college. Other guests congratulated me, causing Emma's face to flush red and blue as she clenched her jaw. It seemed the producers paired her with the hottest actor and me with a gaming streamer. The show's sponsor was a card game, and our first task was to draw cards from the game. Fewer gold cards meant elimination. Everyone was new and initially received a 10-card draw. The rest had to be earned. To save time, Emma went all out with money. She spent $4,000 for extra draws, giving both her and the actor $140 each. 280 total draws, ensuring 4 gold cards. Others marveled at her financial prowess. Emma, with a modest smile, partially covered her mouth and said, Oh well, I'm just having a bit of bad luck, so I have to spend money to win. But with Sarah's family situation now, I guess you can't really afford to spend, right? So you'll have to slowly save up resources. Everyone exchanged glances and subtly shifted, worried I might ask to borrow money. My teammate whispered, Sarah, should we also spend some money? Don't worry, I can cover it, no need. I shook my head, leaving my teammate looking a bit disappointed. Following Emma's lead, the other guests decided to spend money too, but most of them only secured the minimal guarantee of one good card. We were the last group left to draw cards. Emma glanced over at us. "Oh, Sarah, you only have 10 draws. You definitely won't get a good card and you might get eliminated." My teammate looked defeated and handed me his phone. "If we get eliminated, then so be it." I calmly clicked the confirmation button for the draw. The card animation wouldn't stop. Seeing my expressionless face, Emma arrogantly moved closer. "Sarah, don't feel bad if you don't get anything. It just means you're broke and unlucky." "Excuse me, have you ever heard of 6 golden cards?" Emma was puzzled, clearly not understanding what I meant. I waved my phone screen in front of her. 6 gold cards from one 10-card draw. Emma was stunned. She jumped up in shock. "No way!" My teammate quickly sat up, pushing Emma aside, and excitedly admired the phone while shaking his head. "Sarah, you're so lucky." Suddenly realizing something, my teammate spent money for another 10 draws and handed me his phone. I hit confirm. The animation lasted about a minute. My teammate was on his knees, again achieving 6 gold cards. "Sarah, is the sponsor secretly in love with you or what? That's amazing, Sarah. I'll depend on you for all my card draws from now on." My teammate was ecstatic. The other guests were envious and all came over, handing me their phones to draw cards for them. In the end, the sponsor's staff discreetly pulled me backstage, handed me a check, and asked me to stay away from the game. After the show aired, I garnered significant attention as the chosen lucky star. Emma, on the other hand, faced major backlash due to her connections, with people mocking her every move. Online, she was criticized for causing her own problems and facing humiliation. Emma's demeanor remained dark for days, and every time she saw me, she appeared as though she wanted to kill me. A few days later, the director unexpectedly called to inform me that I didn't need to return for the second episode. Then, the company sent me a contract termination notice. When I called my manager, he mumbled something but wouldn't explain why, only requesting that I come to the office the next day to sign the contract termination. I locked myself in my room and sulked all day. My parents didn't dare disturb me, only allowing my sisters to bring in my favorite chocolate lava cake and coffee. Ava held my hand, saying, "Sis, don't worry, Lucy and I will study hard and become directors one day, just to make movies for you." I smiled and ruffled her hair, feeling somewhat better. The next morning, I arrived at the company early. I sat in the meeting room contemplating the upcoming discussion. From the corner of my eye, I saw Emma and John entering arm in arm through the blinds. My manager was fawning over them, saying, "John, Sarah's contract termination is ready, and the signing contract for Miss Smith is ready too. Once Sarah's terminated, we'll follow your instructions to freeze her opportunities, and all her resources will go to Miss Smith." "Are you ready to sign now?" Emma joyfully kissed John's cheek. "John, you're so good for spending so much money on me. But do you think Sarah would be mad if she found out I asked you to pull out as the investor for her first movie?" John gently reassured her. "Emma, she's a nobody. Who cares if she's mad? I only care about you." I couldn't help but tighten my grip on my phone. Emma despised me. If she was behind John's actions, it didn't really surprise me. But I didn't expect them to hook up before John and I broke up. I calmly walked over in my heels. Smack. 2 slaps landed, one on John and one on Emma. I poured all my strength into them. Emma was stunned and screamed, "Sarah, you dare hit me?" John looked furious and raised his hand to strike back. I met his gaze evenly. "I've recorded your entire conversation. You can hit me back if you want, but I can't promise I won't upload it online. John, maybe you don't care since you're not a public figure, but what do you think will happen to Emma? A cheater and a mistress. You two are honestly a perfect match." Emma, terrified, clutched John's raised arm. "John, don't." John hesitated before reluctantly lowering his hand. His eyes flicked to my termination contract with disdain. "Sarah, look at you now. Since leaving me, I'll tell you what. Apologize to Emma, and I might help you find a small company." "Excuse me, John." The boss burst in and interrupted him. He bowed and repeatedly apologized to John. John's smug look grew even more evident. "Sign the contract to terminate her and get her out of here." Emma, nestled in John's arms, also glared at me smugly. Sorry, John," the boss said, looking somewhat startled, awkwardly wiping the sweat off his forehead. What I meant was, we can't end the contract with Miss Sarah anymore. Both John and Emma were taken aback. The boss awkwardly smiled, trying to explain, "I just got a call from the director. Sarah's first movie is out overseas and it's a huge hit, breaking $6 billion at the box office. And Sarah's been nominated for an Oscar, so I'm really sorry, but we won't be terminating Sarah's contract." He continued to bow and apologize repeatedly. "Miss Sarah, to make up for this, I can upgrade our agreement with you. You'll receive an extra 10%. Emma's face reddened with anger, tears almost welling up. She pinched John's arm, pouting. "John!" John irritably patted her hand to calm her, then asked with a frosty tone, "Are you planning to give up William's investment for Sarah? Just a heads up, if you piss off William and Smith, you'll lose a lot of business partners." The boss hesitated, looking troubled for a moment. I smirked. "When it comes to investments, if William can pull out, I can step in. I can invest $50 million into the company. Would that help with the cash flow, is Sarah?" "Oh, that's fantastic, Miss Sarah." The boss was overjoyed, prioritizing me over appeasing John and Emma. "I'll call a stockholder meeting right away, and we'll sign the contract later." "Sorry, Miss Emma, John," I said. "Excuse me?" Emma and John were left furious, their faces dark as coal. I gave them a triumphant look and walked away without a backward glance. After signing the new contract, I became a shareholder in the company. After a brief conversation with James, I left. In the parking lot, I bumped into Felix. I greeted him politely. "Fancy seeing you here, Mr. Felix." "Not really." Felix chuckled softly, awkwardly touching his nose. "I was waiting for you, Miss Sarah." I wasn't sure if I was imagining it, but this man, known for being mature and decisive, had reddened ears. He seemed a bit like a love-struck teenager. I raised an eyebrow, signaling him to continue. Felix bent down, opened the car door, and presented a bouquet of flowers. "Miss Sarah, congratulations on your movie success. If you don't mind, can I invite you to dinner? I'd be honored." During dinner, Felix awkwardly tried to impress me, yet his approach was subtle, respectful, and not overwhelming. Before paying the bill, he smiled at me, saying, "Miss Sarah, I know you've been facing some troubles recently. If you need help, you can always reach out to me. You know, I'd never say no to anything you ask." He was smart, offering help with humility while preserving my dignity. "Thank you, Mr. Felix." I appreciated his gesture, but politely declined his offer of assistance. After John's sudden betrayal, I realized that relying on a man's help might offer temporary relief, but it's not sustainable. I'm not someone who settles for temporary success, but I did like Felix. Since I liked him, I wanted to leave some room for us to potentially connect. I've never hidden my feelings, so when he dropped me home, I invited him to my premiere. Felix looked surprised for a moment before smiling warmly. "I'll be there on time, Miss Sarah." I smiled and closed the car door. "You can just call me Sarah." At the premiere, Felix dressed smartly and sat on my right. I brought the jacket he had lent me before and handed it back. "I've washed it. Thanks for helping me out last time." It was my first time watching my own movie. Felix watched attentively. Throughout the film, I felt a light touch on my fingertips resting on the armrest. Looking down, I saw Felix's hand also placed there. His fingers carefully brushed against mine, then withdrew quickly, his fist clenching and unclenching nervously. In the glow from the big screen, I noticed his side profile slightly redden. I placed my hand on top of his. Felix hesitated, glanced at me, and then firmly held my hand. When the premiere ended, it was met with thunderous applause. I donned a cap and sunglasses, discreetly pulling Felix out the front door to avoid being caught by the crowd. Felix let me lead him, but at the cinema entrance, I noticed Emma standing alone, looking around. I wasn't sure who she was waiting for. Felix stepped in front of me, blocking my view, with a hint of jealousy in his voice. "Don't bother looking at her." I couldn't help but laugh. "All right, I won't." My first film was also a huge success domestically, and I regained popularity, even winning an Oscar. To celebrate, my parents rented a ferry for dinner. They handed me a file mysteriously. It was a stock transfer document from a listed company with my mother as the transferor and me as the transferee. I was puzzled as my father clumsily tried to explain, "When we moved, you gave us some money to start a business. We didn't know what to do at first, so we tried stock trading. It went well, and then Ava and Lucy suggested starting a company. So we did. Now it's gone public. We figured you're busy and probably have expenses, so we decided to transfer the stocks to you. If you don't want to get married in the future, having this money is a good backup." My eyes welled up with tears. When I lived with the Smiths, they never liked me. They kept urging me to return after I went abroad for school, using my part-time job money. Not because they missed me, but because they wanted me to come back and marry John for their own benefit. All these years, I never felt any family warmth from them. At night, I couldn't sleep, tossing and turning, so I tiptoed downstairs to take a walk outside. There was no moon tonight, and the neighborhood lights were dim. Mosquitoes buzzed everywhere. After getting bitten a few times, I decided to head back. Suddenly, a shadow darted in front of me. "Sarah, I hate you. Why don't you just die?" I dodged quickly. The figure missed me and fell to the ground. In the dim streetlight, I recognized Emma. Her hair was disheveled, and she had dark circles under her eyes. She was holding a fruit knife, and when she saw me, she charged like a madwoman. The hatred in her eyes seemed as if she wanted to tear me apart. I ran as fast as I could, losing one of my slippers in the panic. Thankfully, I wasn't far from home. I slammed the door shut behind me. Emma couldn't get in and just screamed hysterically outside. I could hear her stabbing the door with the knife. My family woke up from the noise and anxiously checked on me to ensure I wasn't hurt. Ava called the police, and soon Emma was taken away. I was still shaken, hugging a pillow as I sat against the wall. Ava later told me that someone had seen Emma slashing a poster with my face on my movie premiere day and writing nasty things on it. The video went viral, and Emma was attacked online for a whole week. The Smiths and John had invested a fortune in her, but she squandered it all. Somehow, Lucy said, puzzled, the Smiths suddenly went bankrupt. Smith's older brother was involved in a car accident and didn't survive. Now they were labeling Emma as bad luck, and she had been camping outside our house for days. After Emma was taken away by the police, Mrs. Smith appeared too. I hadn't seen her in months. She looked old and worn out. Ava offered her some warm water, and she sat with the cup, hesitant to speak. I asked Ava and Lucy to leave the room and handed Mrs. Smith a bank card. "There's $500,000 here. The password is 68S. My tone was flat. "Consider it a repayment for raising me." "Sarah!" Mrs. Smith clutched the card, breaking down and sobbing into her knees. "I should never have brought her home. Ever since then, we've had nothing but trouble. Sarah, if you have time, come visit home. Your brother is gone, and your dad really misses you." I didn't care for her complaints. "You can leave now," I told her. "Take care." Then I had the maid escort her out. Felix planned to meet up for dinner today. I got ready, applied makeup, and headed out. The roads were clear since it was a weekday. While waiting at a red light, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw a red BMW approaching rapidly behind me, showing no signs of slowing down. My instincts kicked in, with 30 seconds left on the light. The car kept coming. I quickly pressed the gas pedal, turning right into a different lane. After checking the rear view again, I saw the BMW continue straight, then attempt to turn to follow me just as the light changed to green. It collided head-on with a Ferrari, a loud crash filling the air. In the sparks, I saw someone struggling out of the Ferrari. It was John, but he soon collapsed. The entire incident unfolded so quickly. Traffic cops, firefighters, and medics swarmed the scene. I parked and cooperated with the police. Although I had switched lanes to avoid the wreck, I still received a few points deducted from my license. I was still shaky from the accident when they dragged Emma out of the BMW. My blood boiled. It was Emma again. She wanted to kill me. When the police finished, Felix arrived and held me tightly. "It's okay, Sarah. It's okay now." I clung to his shirt, still in shock, unsure of what to think. John was carried away on a stretcher off to the hospital. Emma was handcuffed and taken by the cops. As she passed me, she shot me a murderous look, like a serpent from hell, ready to strike. She shrieked at me shamelessly right there. "Sarah, why aren't you dead? You should have died. You stole my life. How can someone like you live so well? Sarah, you should be dead." Felix rested his chin on top of my head, his large hand covering my ears to drown out Emma's vicious curses. "Don't listen, Sarah. John didn't make it," he added. He was pronounced dead after they tried to save him. The police reviewed the footage from the day of the accident. Sarah intentionally rear-ended the car, leading to murder charges since someone died. However, the Smith family swiftly paid compensation and showed remorse, Consequently, she was sentenced to 18 years in court. I sat in the witness stand, looking straight ahead with a calm expression. Mr. Smith couldn't handle the blow this time and died of a sudden heart attack. Now, the only remaining member of the Smith family was Mrs. Smith. She broke down and cried in court, but in the end, she could only watch as Emma was taken away. When the trial concluded, I stood up to leave. "Sarah!" Mrs. Smith suddenly called out to me. I turned back and looked at her coldly, leaning on Sophia for support. Mrs. Smith approached me, tears in her eyes as she pleaded, "Sarah, come back and visit sometimes, okay?" That reminded me of those days when I had come first in class and ran home excitedly to tell her, only to be yelled at, told I was good for nothing except studying. And when she had harshly kicked me out of the Smith house, I didn't want to. I replied coldly, turning around to leave. Felix and my 2 sisters were waiting outside. After hugging each of my sisters quickly, I jumped into his arms. The sun was shining brightly. I was ready to live my own life.